I'm a bit creative as well. So it was not a career option for me.
Right.
Because I feel that there is a generational gap in the mindset. Probably they are the only ones who can explain their parents or the ones who are actually running the show. So I used to be the only one who used to wake up at 4 in the morning from my entire batch. I think I lost my father. Have this habit कि नहीं इसको घुमाते रखड़ाते थोड़ा time. So this is how we rectified the entire situation. It was a good 7 to 8 month process, I feel.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Manthan Mehta Show. And today, I am truly honored to welcome a very dear friend of mine, Poojan Parekh. Poojan, I would request you to introduce yourself today, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Poojan Parekh, as he just introduced. I am a chartered accountant by profession, and as he said, I like being creative at times. So I try to be as funny as possible, especially in front of my friends. Yeah, that's how it goes.
And what do you do?
It's been 6 years since I became a chartered accountant, and I think the number of years I've studied has been more than the number of years I've worked. During my articleship, I always used to think that audit or taxation is not really for me. So once my CA, like my course got over, for the first 2 to 3 months, I was actually wondering what should I do. Because, like auditing and taxation was long gone in my head. It was not a career option for me.
Right.
So, and I actually kind of get it from my mom. She's an artist, right? And I get it from her that I'm a bit creative as well. So that's the reason why I kind of came across this thing called fundraising, which was really new to me at that point of time. And I help basically all my clients to raise funds and structure it well on their balance sheet.
Nice. Yeah. Interesting. So basically, if at all I require fund for my business, you'll make sure that I'm getting that thing.
Yeah, you get it in the right way, because most of the balance sheets today, I believe, are designed just to, avoid tax. They don't design it for valuation, especially the MSMEs. I think there is a lot of help needed. There is a gap where, people really need to understand the way to design their financials in order to get the funds they want.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you say fundraising, इसमें सब कुछ आ जाता है. It might be a debt.
Correct.
From rather, let's widen the horizon. It would be from getting in debt, मतलब अब पैसा ब्याज पे उठाओ, वहाँ से लेके IPO तक.
True.
Everything in between.
Yes.
Can be accommodated into
Exactly.
fundraising.
So I'll speak a bit about it.
Please.
Yeah. Most of the people nowadays looking at shows like Shark Tank, that IPO is something which is so deeply embedded in their heads that they don't really understand what is it that they want, right? So if it's a service-oriented business where there is one entrepreneur, he's depending on his own creativity, that person does not require equity, to be honest. But it is so deeply embedded in their heads that you actually need someone from the technical side to explain what kind of funds should be raised. So someone who's looking at repaying those funds within a short period of time, where the profit margins are on the higher side, then debt is definitely
the best option.
The best option. It shall be used as a tool, and if you use it properly to the best of your interest, I think there is no other instrument which is better than debt.
The cheapest form of
the cheapest form of funds.
Right.
But the problem again lies where I don't want to pay taxes, so I'm not going to design my balance sheet in a way. People need to realize कि ये पहले का ज़माना अभी नहीं है कि बैंक मैनेजर को पैसा खिलाओ and they'll just disburse funds to you. It is not like that anymore.
Right.
And apart from that, I feel the business like financials पे भी दिखाओ ना कि you're probably developing a business which in the future will actually give you a rich valuation.
Right. Point taken. So eventually, to summarize your point, I feel that today's entrepreneurs are not actually showcasing what they are doing, as in their financials or their statements of accounts are not really showcasing the actual worth of their business.
Correct.
That is done to, in a way, sort of in a tax planning fashion, they make sure that they are undervaluing or underplaying their finances and the financial statement, but they don't understand they are losing a lot when they do that.
True.
because their actual value is being undervalued. The actual value of the business is being undervalued.
Correct.
When they do that.
Correct.
And that in turn would be making their life difficult when they actually want to raise funds for expansion and any other things about their business.
Correct. I feel there is a lack of awareness as far as this goes because, see, nowadays equity is more readily and easily available than it was a few years ago.
Right.
So to summarize, I would say that if there is someone from the younger generation who understands this, probably they are the only ones who can explain their parents or the ones who are actually running the show. Because I feel that there is a generational gap in the mindset.
Right.
Everywhere. So, yeah, I think that someone who's into the business and the one who's going to take it forward in the future is the one who has to bring in this change.
Nice. So you need to be, up with actually practically understand what is happening, and then you think the younger lot would be more. It would be more simpler for the younger lot to understand and implement it. This is something that you are saying.
Correct.
Nice.
So I would see it is not. It is just a difference of perspective, as I would say. Probably third or fourth generation businesses that have been going on since say 3 or 4 decades. They started the businesses when there was nothing. We didn't have computers back then. And things are easier for us as far as communication goes, access goes to various things, networking, all those things have become very easy. So we are no one to challenge the way they thought earlier because they are the ones who actually started the business from scratch. But yes, as time changes, the kind of policies that we have, the government policies that we have today, there is definitely a lack of awareness is what I feel, especially in the MSME sector. And
lack of awareness when it comes to finance, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes to finance.
Nice. Interesting. Poojan, we'll keep this topic aside for now. I would like to talk about, so whenever, I meet you, you inspire me. You inspire me because of this wonderful word which is known as perseverance.
Yeah.
I truly feel that you are an epitome of perseverance because, cracking chartered accountancy is a difficult task. And you made sure that you clear this race. It took time. It definitely took time, but you eventually cleared this race. So if you could just, throw some light on how many attempts did you take?
So my entrance and my IPCC, I cleared both of those exams in the first attempt.
Lovely.
And I would actually like to mention Abhay sir here because he was the one because of whom I could clear these exams with ease. He used to give us an exact time. Okay, you need to study for maybe 6 hours, 8 hours a day to clear this. So I used to be the only one who used to wake up at 4 in the morning from my entire batch.
Right.
And I used to finish studies by 12. And then I was roaming around the entire day. So that is how I am. Okay, finish your work and then you do what you want. So that is how it started. And then during CA finals, actually, I realized, okay, I was studying the things that I was not supposed to at times because the syllabus was so lengthy. And uske wajah se, it took me a few attempts. Unfortunately, during my first attempt, I think I lost my father at that time.
Right.
So I was giving the first few attempts I just gave casually without studying. I was winding up my business. We had a factory in Ghatkopar. It was so the factory, we used to manufacture fans there. And so ultimately I realized, okay, I'm not experienced enough to run this business all by myself. And it took me, I think, around a year and a half to wind the business down. Ultimately shut shop, rented the premises out, and then again I gave my CA attempts. Yeah, I was like, CA attempts were ongoing.
So how many attempts did it take?
6.
6 attempts is close to 3 years of your...
Yeah, 3, actually 7, 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
For just clearing the finals.
Yeah, but so like, I feel I'm someone who does not, have a long attention span. So that's the reason why it took me a few attempts to realize that, okay, 4 exam khatam hone ke baad to main खींच रहा हूँ. So then, my neighbor, he had like even 12 attempts.
Okay.
And he told me that, give 1-1 group. 8 exams साथ में तो दे ही मैं. And then, I cleared. The first time he told me this, I gave 1-1 group each and I cleared. And then I realized वो तो CA बना ही नहीं था. So yeah, but this is how I think. Initially, in the first few attempts, I used to study 12 to 14 hours a day. But फिर तो कम हो गया था. But one thing, like I was fortunate enough to not be in that position or situation where I was like compelled to go out and work already.
Right.
I was blessed enough to have a good source of income where I could actually like sit at home, finish my studies and then start with my work, because otherwise I had a lot of friends who were working और साथ में attempts भी दे रहे थे, but it took them a long time. अभी हफ्ते भर का छुट्टी मिलता है, it's not enough to clear the exam. So I feel with all this combined, maybe my luck and obviously मेहनत तो सब करते हैं. So I feel because of all that I was able to finish it off. And patience is something I've always had. So that was never an issue, like never.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I say perseverance is a powerful word, because as you said that you faced a huge challenge, and that was, I would say, let's not undermine it with any other word, it was a huge challenge with a great setback that was there in your life. And you being the eldest one, at the age of 21, 22 or?
22.
22, you had to be responsible and enough to make sure that all the businesses were taken care of, and you need to make sure that everything was in a place of its own in such a way that now it is automated.
Correct.
And including while you're doing all this, you're giving your attempts as well.
Yeah.
So this is perseverance for sure, because you have worked very hard with the hope in life that you need to clear your chartered accountancy as well.
Correct.
Though right now you say that there were many friends of yours who were working, but trust me, this was a great burden which many would have succumbed to. Correct. But you stood tall, you were smiling as always, and you make sure that you come out of it in a huge way. This is something that each and everyone should learn in their life, that it's okay. Life would be difficult, life would be harsh, but you need to focus on what is important and do what is important in that time.
True.
Though you say that your attention span is bad, but I don't feel so, because you were focused on what was required. It took time, that's okay, but you prioritized it. First what was important, you did that. Then you focused on what was to be done to automate it. Yeah. And I know, interestingly, that what all problems you had to go through, and then to eventually CA being one of the most toughest exams that
Correct.
People have to clear. And 3.5 years is something for a final. Just to give you some perspective, हमारे दोस्त होते हैं हमारे साथ जब हम CA की एग्ज़ाम देते हैं. 1 या 2 अटेम्प्ट तक हमारे साथ दोस्त होते हैं. तीसरे अटेम्प्ट तक मेजॉरिटी पास हो जाते हैं या हौसला छोड़ देते हैं कि नहीं होगा ये मेरे से. बट फिर भी 7वें अटेम्प्ट तक यू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर देयर इन द गेम, and clearing the race is a great thing to do. And this is truly an inspiration for people who always face failures in their life. It's okay, have a break, sit back, don't take life seriously, because there is always a next attempt that will be in front of you. Correct. And you will be able to clear. Improvise, as Poojan rightly said. अगर आपसे नहीं हो रहा है, there was always an option to take 2 exams, first
Correct.
Group and the second group. He improvised, and then he analyzed the game, he saw his strengths, and he worked accordingly. So more importantly, you should always finish the race. Correct. That you have started, and you successfully did it. And that is something that I always take an inspiration from. So congratulations to you. And Poojan, this one question that I always ask every CA is that, what was the feeling when you actually cleared that exam?
To be honest, I was numb, because 3.5 years, 7 attempts, you have so many things in your mind. कि ये खत्म करना है, वो खत्म करना है. Because like by the time you start with one subject, initially when you start studying, your pace is going to be a bit slow. Right. You feel that okay, I'll finish one subject in maybe a matter of 10-12 days. But 15 दिन निकल जाते हैं, आधा सब्जेक्ट भी खत्म नहीं हुआ है, and then you realize, oh, I just have 2.5 months. ये सब्जेक्ट तो मैंने अभी तक चालू भी नहीं किया है. So there is so much in your head till the time the exam gets over and by the time the results come out. So you never get time to think of anything else. And when the results do come out and you realize, okay, you cleared, I was totally numb. I didn't know what to do next. क्योंकि उतने time तक वही सोच रहे थे सब.
Right.
So what is going to happen? So I feel my journey kind of started after I cleared, like I passed CA.
Right.
then, you know, once I started giving interviews, I realized, okay, these are the various kinds of profiles available.
Right.
And I feel my journey started after that.
True. So always people feel that clearing CA should be the ultimate goal of their life, but that is actually a milestone.
Correct.
And that is the base camp of the Everest. I mean, that is
Exactly.
you just reach the base camp. Still, the entire mountain has to be scaled.
Exactly. So I feel becoming a CA, definitely it gets you into a lot of places. It gets you that degree of respect
Right.
everywhere. But ultimately, it's your ability to, you know, move ahead as quickly as possible. At times, I feel there are things like you have been working on certain things for a long period of time. You still don't reach there. But I don't feel that, okay, nothing's happening, because I have always been patient, right? So I think, ठीक है, CA 7 अटेम्प्ट में हुआ, ये 7 अटेम्प्ट में तो हो ही जाएगा. So there's not a lot to demotivate after going through this, right?
Right. So it makes you future proof, basically.
Makes you stronger as a person, makes you stronger mentally.
Right.
And yeah, that's how it is.
Nice. Okay, that's perfect. Now coming back to the vertical that we started with. So fundraising or debt syndication,
Correct.
whatever way you want to term it. How did you start it, or what was the first failure that you had in this one?
First failure, so basically I've not really had failures, because I've had people to work with. I've always had colleagues to none of it has ever been a failure, because see, like you need to understand there are a lot of aspects as far as fundraising goes. So whether it's debt or equity that you're raising, it totally depends on the kind of financial statements you have. And that is going to be a long-term journey, you would say. Like probably it's like nurturing a baby. Someday it's just a startup. Probably 2 to 3 years down the line, it becomes profitable. You help them design the balance sheets that are capable of raising funds. And probably 2 or 3 साल के बाद you will actually get the funding that you really want. Because it's always going to be a journey. As a first year, you know, it is not possible
You're
to.
sort of saying it's a process that you need,
Exactly.
or a discipline that you need to.
Correct. So ऐसे कुछ failure नहीं है as such. Probably you tried funding in year 1 when the balance sheets were poor. It didn't happen well, right? It didn't go well. So the next year you design the balance sheets better. Maybe you asked for, say, 1 crore rupees of a loan, you probably got 80 lakhs. The next year you design your balance sheet even better. You'll, instead of getting 1 crore, you'll get 1.5 crores. So it has never been a failure. It's that you have to be regularly in touch with the people. You need to, I feel like here there's a part of the job is consultation, right? And I feel whether it's any kind of consultant, understanding the person is very important.
Right.
You need to understand how that person thinks, how the businessman thinks. Would he actually be open to designing his books based on an outsider's say? So I feel things have never been a failure.
So
you get regular clients whom you're working with on a year-to-year basis. So what did not happen last year will definitely happen the next year.
So taking this point ahead, was there any bad experience that you had?
You always have bad experiences, because 10 clients you will bill, probably you will receive 2 payments very soon. 10 में से 3-4 तो ऐसे रहेंगे जो देंगे ही नहीं सालों तक. That is an issue everywhere in kind of any kind of business, any kind of service you provide.
So how do you cope up with that thing?
It's okay. I feel again, kind of CA's kind of helped me with the principle of conservatism. कि पहले से ही सोच के रखा है 10 में से 2 का पेमेंट नहीं आएगा.
So you're mentally prepared.
Mentally prepared.
Right.
Don't keep expectations high. You always have options to twist people when it matters. You feel that, और जो client सबसे ज़्यादा मर रहा है ना पैसे के लिए, वो कभी पेमेंट में डिले नहीं करेगा. The first money after the disbursement will get to me. I know that. But उसके अलावा there are some who have this habit कि नहीं इसको घुमाते रखड़ाते थोड़ा टाइम. So you always have an option of twisting them.
Right.
You can always tell them to make the payment before the sanction comes in. So there are lots of ways.
Right.
And I feel like as far as me as a person, I am also learning. Off late I've been thinking of giving an exam in valuation.
Nice.
for financial assets.
Upskilling basically.
Yeah, so I feel that the kind of networks that I'm creating right now might fetch me some work, so why not?
So any particular case which you would like to share today wherein you felt that you arrived in this industry, because there will be some time, you know, some client or some project that you were working on which was sort of impossible or difficult, but you made sure that that thing happens. Anything that you would like to share?
Uh, so there's one particular client that I really like. I liked working with them. It was because there was a lot of deep thought required. There are a lot of guidelines issued by the RBI in the way a bank or an NBFC can fund a company. So, sorry for getting too technical.
What business is this?
So the company, I wouldn't like to mention the
No,
name.
the business that
it was
they are
basically into pharmaceuticals.
Pharma
It was a 100% export-oriented unit.
Okay.
And so basically what happened was they had purchased a huge plant back in 2013.
Okay.
It was a 50,000 square meter plot of land in an SEZ in Nanded. And वहाँ पे क्या हुआ था कि basically when you're into pharmaceuticals and you're exporting to certain countries, these countries they approve the plant. So basically कल उठ के तुम्हारा कंपनी अगर NPA हो जाता है, ये प्लांट कोई और खरीदेगा, तो that guy can legit manufacture medicines for export to that country.
Nice.
So basically the plant is specified, like it's specifically approved to manufacture medicines for an XYZ country. So अभी यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, they had expected कि approvals आ जाएंगे 1-2 साल में. So they had taken a loan of almost 200 crores for purchasing the land and construction of the plant, purchasing the machineries, the capex basically. So what happened here is they had expected that they'll get the licenses in probably a year. They did not get licenses till 3 years.
Oh.
So what happened was EMIs started after a year and the EMIs were ballooning. So probably after 2 years the EMIs increased. Now what happened with this guy is since his entire there were no additional sales from that plant since
Approvals were
not in place. So in that case what happened was the entire working capital it went towards repayment of the loans. So there was a total asset liability mismatch in the balance sheet. And he was, by a stroke of luck I would say, during COVID 7 महीने मिले थे where you could delay all your EMI payments.
Right.
Within this period of 7 months, what he managed to do was rotate the operational cycle for 2 times, where he survived. And he could actually, there were delays, 80 days, 88 days, but never more than 90 days. So that is how he saved himself.
So if you delay more than 19 days, you will be
become
an
an
NPA.
NPA.
You will be an NPA.
So that is how he kind of managed to, stay below 90 days.
And this was your advice, basically.
So my entire thing came in post
this
his
thing.
survival.
Okay.
So at that point of time, what happened is when his delays were like more than 80 days, his rating agency gave him a D rating. So now what happens is banks cannot fund you further money. Banks need a specifically BBB minus or above to fund the company, right? So in that case, what happened was now this rule applies to banks. It doesn't apply to NBFCs. So my role here was to fill in the gap of the asset liability mismatch. At a turnover of around 200 crores, he had 180 crores of creditors. So basically, his entire working capital was supplied by the creditors per se.
Right.
So in this case, what we did was we funded him via an NBFC. It was a term loan, and by this he could manage to reduce his creditors. That in turn helped him create a good drawing power, based on which his ratings became better, based on which the banks could further give him money. So this is how we rectified the entire situation. It was a good 7 to 8 month process, I feel, but it was something which was much of a learning curve for me, and I feel especially chartered accountants, आजकल GST का काम है, taxation का काम है. Taxation is monotonous, audit is monotonous. GST has become very clerical.
Right.
So I see कि ये type का creativity chartered accountants के पास है. So we should be like a huge part of the financial structure of a company. That is where the MBAs get in. But I am pretty sure I can challenge any MBA that probably obviously experience does matter, but just based on the qualification, I would say I would definitely be better than any MBA, especially while structuring a company.
Nice.
So I feel chartered accountants have this field to explore, and I think I would like to see more chartered accountants in this,
Nice.
where we can actually display our creativity.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So, which is very true, because technical knowledge, the chartered accountants versus MBA, chartered accountants are truly superior.
Correct.
For sure. Interesting. So this is something that you structured and eventually you bought the company
Exactly.
out.
It wasn't just me, it was my entire team.
The entire team,
Yeah.
obviously.
But it was definitely a huge learning curve for me, and post that, small companies are like a piece of cake for you, right?
Right.
Because once you experience such huge numbers, it becomes definitely becomes easier for you.
So Poojan, truly interesting. I mean, the things that you have done, truly make sure that the creativity that you have within you, combined with the knowledge of chartered accountancy is mixed, and that is a good collaboration of the both, and you come out with an idea post that. The profession that you are in, Poojan, you have to make sure that you understand each and every business of the person that comes to you, and there will be many businesses that would have truly blown your mind as to ये भी business होता है.
Yeah.
So any specific business that you like to talk about?
I think my favorite would be contract manufacturing.
Okay.
So contract manufacturing में क्या होता है कि basically there is some high-end company that is looking forward for probably someone who can manufacture goods on their behalf. So,
like an outsource thing. They
job
will be
works.
outsourcing. Yeah, job works.
works. So here the good part is that I just have to take care of the plant, the labor, and the quality. That's all. Because most of these companies, they provide capex, they provide their own plant and machineries.
Oh, the plant and machineries are provided.
Yeah. I would give an example of Johnson and Johnson. They have stopped now, but they used to manufacture sanitary napkins. They do not have any plants of their own. It is entirely based on job works. So here, the good part is that if I am the job worker, I have a manufacturing unit in place. The capex is not mine, and it is not my job to sell the final product, right? And I have a decent 10% margin. What else do I want?
It's an asset-light model. And
asset-light model, and the only thing that is binding with you is a contract. Yeah, there is a risk here that what if they shut their shop someday?
Right.
You are then again
But you haven't really invested anything, so it doesn't really
matter. But
Yeah.
if it goes on for like a lot of years.
Right.
You have a bare minimum as far as investment goes, and you are earning a healthy margin. And I feel in today's scenario, it is one of the best things to do.
And here you are funding the working capital of theirs.
Yeah, kind of.
The working capital gap or
No,
an
so I
OD
basically
thing.
just made a valuation report for them. I was
Okay.
not funding them
Okay.
because they weren't
requiring anything.
requiring any
That
kind
is
of
something
funds.
that I was understanding. That was lovely. I mean, we can go on and on, but unfortunately, this would get a bit too technical.
Yeah.
But just to for the ease of the viewers today, let's do it in Hindi. अगर कोई business को पैसा चाहिए,
हाँ.
ठीक है? So what are options are available for them? If you could say it in a very common man's language or something.
So सबसे पहले तो it depends on the kind of business you have.
Right.
So if it's a startup, if it's a new business entirely.
Right.
The only thing you can the only place where you can manage funds are your friends, family, and your relatives.
True.
3 years down the line, when you have 3 balance sheets, 3 times you have filed returns, that is when you can approach a bank for any kind of term loans or any kind of working capital. This is as far as debt goes. Equity again.
So debt is basically पैसा ब्याज पे उठा.
ब्याज पे उठाना.
Right. वो आप बैंक से उठा सकते हो, प्राइवेट लेंडर से भी उठा सकते हो, पर बैंक से चाहिए तो you need to have a healthy balance
I would
sheet.
always suggest banks because you should do things in a structured way.
Right. True. So banks are preferable, but it can be banks, NBFCs, which are non-banking financial institutes.
Correct.
Right. And we have private lenders. तीनों के पास से we could take debt from them.
Correct.
Loan ले सकते हैं उनके पास. So
Yes.
first we have the seed money जो हमारे known people और relatives देते हैं.
Yes.
Second is the debt जहाँ पे
Correct.
बैंक, NBFCs और private lenders आते हैं. उसके बाद और कौन सा ऑप्शन है पैसे?
The third one is equity. So
Equity.
probably once you have a strong and healthy balance sheet, I feel that is when you should sell your equity. If you have an up and running business which is profitable enough, you do not require a lot of money to expand, then I would never suggest anyone to sell their own equity. And
Right.
I feel before selling your equity, you should really have a healthy balance sheet so that you get the best value out of it.
Right. So again, just to make things more simpler and break down even further, equity मतलब आप अपने कंपनी की ओनरशिप बेच रहे हो, ओनरशिप बेच रहे हो.
Correct.
राइट. सो इफ आई एम 100% ओनर ऑफ माई कंपनी, व्हेन आई एम सेलिंग इक्विटी, तो मैं मेरे कंपनी का एक हिस्सा आपको बेच रहा हूँ.
Correct.
राइट. सो अगर मुझे पैसा ब्याज पे समझो 12% पे मिल रहा है एनुअली, और मेरा ऑपरेटिंग प्रॉफिट इज अराउंड 25%, और मैं अगर इक्विटी आपको बेच रहा हूँ फॉर XYZ मनी, तो मैं बहुत बड़ा पाप कर रहा हूँ, वैसे हो जाएगा.
Yes. Because ultimately here what will happen is कि जो साल के एंड में आपका प्रॉफिट होता है,
जी.
that will be given, like for example if you sold 20% of your shares,
राइट.
so 20% of your profits will be distributed as dividend at the end of the year.
Right.
So that will go on to the people who have purchased the equity from you.
And this would be way more than the debt of 12%.
Exactly. Debt, if used as a tool, is it is a beautiful thing.
Right.
So I feel, again, depending on the type of business you have and depending on the kind of balance sheet you have, that is what will actually decide what kind of money you should borrow.
So again, based on the vision of the promoters as well.
Correct.
Promoter के vision पे भी निर्भर करता है उसको
Correct.
क्या चाहिए. But equity, if correct me if I'm wrong, अगर मैं आज मेरी equity बेच रहा हूँ कहीं पे, this is the सबसे महंगा पैसा अगर मैं कोई कंपनी में लाता हूँ तो वो इक्विटी बेच के होता है.
Correct.
राइट. और सबसे सस्ता पैसा अगर कोई आता है कंपनी में तो वो डेट या फिर ब्याज पे पैसा आता है.
True.
बिकॉज वहाँ पे पैसा फिक्स्ड रहता है. यहाँ पे आपको सालों साल जितना भी प्रॉफिट है वो आपको शेयर करना पड़ता है किसी के साथ. एंड प्लस व्हेन यू सेल योर इक्विटी यू विल बी गेटिंग एन एडिशनल ओनर इन द कंपनी. एक एडिशनल ओनर
You
कंपनी
become
में
responsible towards your stakeholders.
Right, right.
So listed companies में तो बहुत सारे compliances हो जाते हैं, but even if you have a small, maybe you have a partnership firm or you have a private company, additional investors means you have to fulfill all their expectations as well.
राइट. परफेक्ट. सो यू आर आंसरेबल टू समवन. कोई सवाल पूछ सकते हैं आपको कि ये इतने में क्यों खरीदा, ये इतने में क्यों लिया.
True.
So these are the basic things that we need to say, because आपने जैसे कि स्टार्ट में कहा, it is very true that you know getting in equity or selling your equity is a fashion which everyone is doing these days.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that selling your equity is the costliest thing or the costliest mistake that any business could do in the long term. Of course, if they are in line with the vision of the promoter, nothing like it. But the vision of any promoter should be to always focus and make sure that their product or the service that they are doing is more refined and more worked on.
Correct.
Right? Perfect. So what would be your message to the upcoming CAs or any person who is trying to enter into the field that you are in? Which again, I feel that investment banking is another terminology which can be used for the profession that you are in.
So I can actually this would be a message to especially all the practicing chartered accountants. You already have a wide client base. So why do you rely only on providing GST services or providing taxation services or audit services to them? Right. You can definitely add a finance function in your firm which helps them manage their finances. You nowadays, especially with a lot of startups, they are in need of external CFOs for a lot of things. So why not add that function as well? So I feel that would kind of go hand in hand because I have observed that most of the businessmen trust their CAs blindly.
Right.
So I feel this would be a wonderful addition of exploring.
And it isn't that difficult.
Not at all.
If you're a CA, you more or less understand what is happening. So
exactly. Most of the people who don't have a financial consultant in place in case they are raising a loan, projections और ये सब तो CA ही बना के देता है.
True.
So I think it's a piece of cake.
So your message to all the CAs who are not in this field would be that at least give it a try. It's a good.
Correct. So if a CA can design a balance sheet for taxation purposes, he can definitely design one for borrowing, the borrowing process as well. And most of the people, like I would really like to give another message is that banks do not, want a good borrower. They want a good repayer.
Nice.
So, this has been my experience. Someone who pays their dues on time, their installments on time. कभी कभी कैसा होता है कि अकाउंट में पैसा पड़ा है, but it's that lousy nature that a lot of people have.
The thing
repay it on time. 2 दिन का buffer रखो.
Right.
So that is very important.
Well, the banks really respect your discipline when it comes to all this.
Exactly.
Nice. It has been a great pleasure chatting with you, and I'm sure I have learned a lot of things today, and so would be the viewers who are viewing this. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Any closing remarks from your side?
So I would say that life has taught me a lot of patience, and based on that, I have a lot of patience in my career, which is a plus. So I feel whatever you learn in your personal life, try and kind of implement in the work you do, whether even if it's just a job or even if it's your entrepreneurship journey or a big business. I feel what you learn in your personal life, try and implement it in your professional lives as well.
Nice.
I think that is something that would make you unique everywhere.
And always be creative. That is
yeah.
That's lovely. It was a great experience for me chatting with a very dear friend of mine, CA Poojan Parekh, and I hope that you have learned a lot. Keep showering your support by watching this channel over here, and thank you so much. See you soon.